good, so, we'll call the order and declare a quorum. Open for public comment, seeing no one here. We'll close public comment. And now consider approval of the minutes from April 30th, 2024. Does anyone have any comments on the meeting, on the minutes?
I wasn't here, so I'm gonna abstain from those.
There was only a few people here. You may, well, there's 4 of us.
Yeah.
You may vote, but
Yeah, I know.
if we could.
It's just a practice.
Yeah. One question was, Celia, on the minutes, if we would be able to get to a point where we can have the next meeting, previous meeting minutes in the packet.
I think that we will, once you guys get to a more regular cadence.
Okay.
Isn't this,
This is 30th, we had met on the 15th or something.
okay, yeah, that's right.
So,
Okay.
okay, so I think after this meeting,
We have a few weeks.
we have a few weeks off, and then we have, I think it's the 18th, and then we are meeting consistently on the 1st and 3rd.
Yeah, so long as you're doing 2 a month, I'm not sure how.
Oh, you think that's too
So
much?
it's like, there were several meetings where we had a meeting, like on the 2nd week and then the 3rd week, and it's just.
It's very confusing.
Yeah, and so I think when we get on a regular, when we get on once a month, it'll obviously be much easier, but we're not there yet.
Yeah,
And so for now, like, let's do our best.
okay,
Probably caught up in the 18th of June, and hopefully I'm looking to Celia to see if that's possible. I don't know. We'll have this one by the 18th, right? Maybe this meeting.
I'll have the ones from before that to get done too, so.
Yeah.
That's part of the issue of,
Yeah, so we'd have to,
can,
but then it's like, we're gonna lose track again.
yeah, okay. Well, all right, well, let's consider, will anyone make a motion? Does anyone have any comments about the meeting minutes that we're doing?
Make a motion to approve this.
I'll second that motion. So all in favor? And Sylvia abstains. Anybody opposed? No. Library policy review, oh, I'm sorry, programs and events, work plan, sorry,
Hey,
didn't mean to skip you.
okay. So for the folks who I haven't met yet, hello, I'm Jamie Kofke. I'm the Programs and Events Manager and been at the library for about 8 years now. So I'm gonna give you a little overview of what Programs and Events does and a look at our next several months because we have a lot going on. All right, well. Oh, really? Is there a little delay? A little bit. Well, I think hopefully you all can read it anyways, but I'll be talking through the presentation, but for the folks that don't know much about our work group, the Programs and Events team, we provide some of the bigger picture strategic thinking behind what happens with programming at the library. We help lead some of the bigger system-wide programs like One Book, One Boulder, Summer of Discovery. Our team also does kind of some behind-the-scenes supports for staff across the library. So we are not centralized in that our work group plans everything and then tells the branches what to do. We're pretty decentralized. So if you look at the number of people who actually plan programs, there's probably over 50 staff who at some point or another plan a program. And they come in with all different levels of knowledge. So our staff helps kind of keep things cohesive, keep kind of systems in place to, you know, have everybody be able to do that work. We also provide training. So like our team puts together the program summit every year for the staff to learn together. And we oversee several of the library's creative spaces in addition to putting on programs. So I'll be going into some of them in more detail, but those are our maker spaces, the Canyon Theater. And I'll show you some slides of some of the other spaces that entails. And we also assist in different placemaking efforts. So I'll share a little bit about what that means too. Those are kind of special projects as they come up. This thing really is a
Yeah.
little delayed, isn't it?
Stuck maybe.
Okay.
On your screen, it's fine.
Yeah. Amy.
Your slide is not advancing.
Mm-mm. Maybe if I click on, look at how like the mouse is just really thinking through things.
Yeah.
If I click on
Maybe
it.
unshare and reshare. Audio's working.
I never.
No.
Okay, so our team also has grown pretty significantly in the last year. So about this time last year, the Makerspaces joined the programs and events team. So we went from 6 staff to 21 staff, which is where we'll be this fall. So we have a lot of initiatives underway too. One of the creative spaces that we oversee is our library's exhibitions program. So we do an open call every August, and those are almost all community generated exhibitions that people put on, and we populate everything from the Canyon Gallery, the Arapahoe Ramp, all the branches, and occasionally things in the Conway too. Last year we had over 70 people apply for our exhibitions. We also oversee the gardens here at Maine. We help support some of the gardening programs at other branches too, but our seed to table programs really spring from the gardens. So that's the edible learning garden. We do a lot of, cooking and growing classes out there. All the produce gets donated to EFA at the end of every season. Even though our beehives are no longer here, we do a regular series of the Beach Ecos workshops and a speaker series in the theater. We also were responsible for overhauling what was the Japanese garden and turning it into a native plant xeriscape demonstration garden. And our seed library, which is coming back soon, so be on the lookout for it. It's going to be a mobile cart, which is exciting. So we also help bring some of these things to the branches as well. And then placemaking things like the PLA Library Lodge. So that was something that we, the PLA had their national conference in April, and they came to us and asked us if we would design the creative experience for the national conference. And so our team put together the Library Lodge because we were the ones who have kind of the skills at making and doing that placemaking. And it was really, really popular at the conference. So those are kind of the types of things that pop up and our group will help take on for the library.
What kind of stuff could people do there at the?
Well, very exciting. A la Taylor Swift. People could make friendship bracelets with like messages or, things they wanted to remember from the conference. And you would think that Taylor Swift was there. I mean, it was crazy. How busy it was. And then the other activity we had is the other picture there. We did, we laser cut in the makerspace different puzzle pieces, and kind of however you decorated it, all the puzzle pieces fit together. So we'll have that actually will be in our Maker Made exhibition. So you'll be able to see it later on in the gallery in a couple months, but it was a pretty popular space during the conference. I'm going to walk you through all of our projects coming up in kind of calendar order of what's coming our way. So in 3 days, Summer of Discovery starts, which is kind of the bread and butter program for any library, but one of our flagship series, and there's a lot of staff that put time and effort into Summer of Discovery. Just, stats from last year, we're hoping to match these and exceed them. Over 5,000 people participating. About half of those people had completions. We've adjusted the program a little bit to try and increase completions this year, but it'll be activities. That program is designed to be experiential and a reading challenge. So that's going to be a big focus for staff in the next couple of months. So that launches June 1st, goes through July 31st. We also are launching on June 1st, our Canyon Theater pilot. So that will be when reservations officially start. You all know a little bit about it because I came and talked to you all about the policy. But basically the summary of it is that people will be able to book the Canyon Theater for free, completely free of charge, and it includes a staff member who's a dedicated theater technician to help people realize their events. So we're really kind of catering towards people who are doing films, doing lecture series, light music. We can't do too complicated of theater performances in there, but we are aiming to try and activate the theater 70% of our open hours. So some sort of community thing happening in that space.
Will people just be able to log in, like going through the website like they do any other conference?
Yeah, we actually have a more dedicated, so we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes building up the infrastructure, but people will be able to go in and actually view the availability in the theater as a first step so that they aren't just like taking wild guesses. They'll see when it's free. Yeah, and then they put that date in as their preferred date. The form will come to staff. Staff still need to approve it just to make sure there's a staff member available, but it'll be a little bit better system than say, like just writing in generic form to us. So also we oversee the maker spaces and we have been hiring new creative technologists. We still have one position open, but we've hired 3 people. So there's a couple different prongs to things that are happening in our maker spaces, but Building 61 will be seeing a pretty major overhaul of what we can offer in that space with the new staffing. So by September, I expect we'll have a more regular schedule. We literally have had 3 staff just start in the last couple of weeks. So that plus Studio 24 is going to take us a little bit of time to get everything worked out. But you know, some of the concepts that we're thinking about in that maker space is that space is still going to have all the industrial equipment that it currently has. We'll be able to expand hours in there and also hopefully expand some of the audiences. Right now, it's pretty heavily adults because when people come in there now, they're really coming in for their own personal need, whatever it is. And so we, just because of staffing, haven't been able to do as many workshops or introductory classes. So that's something we're going to shift to. We're also going to be doing a lot more teen offerings and, you know, family oriented things to get kids in the space more as well. So really what we're shifting is really from people coming in and just doing their own project, which is great and will still happen in there. But we want to start to build up a little bit more community in the space too. So that includes starting to get people more in group settings. So those project-based workshops like make garden stakes on the laser cutter. It teaches you how to use it and you're coming away with something cool. But it's not as intimidating as coming in without, you have to kind of have a project right now to know what to do in there. And then ultimately, we want to get to the point where we're doing more community level projects. So there'll be something on a community scale that people can contribute to in some way in the maker space. And then one other kind of prong is that which I think is really one of the benefits of this group being part of our team is we're really integrated with all of the branches already. And we're going to be working on making different maker creator kits that our creative technologists who are really kind of the staff experts on STEAM principles and informal learning. They'll make creator kits that can go out to branches or for outreach events. And it'll be kind of an easy way for staff to do STEAM programming at other locations. And then our brand new makerspace, Studio 24. So that's going to be at Nobo. This was a picture a couple months ago. If you saw it right now, it's filled with construction stuff. So we haven't been able to get in there yet, but soon we will be. And that is going to be a slightly different model. So while Building 61 will still be kind of that come in, use all the industrial equipment, do whatever, you know, your dream project is, we're going to be using Studio 24 as more of a deep dive into different disciplines. So we'll be doing 3-month-long themed studios. So for that length of time, it'll be a fiber studio and people can come in and do all different aspects of a particular discipline. And it's also not a huge space, so it'll allow us to kind of really tailor the space each time for those particular learning opportunities. It'll also have a combination of open studios and classes. We're also going to introduce a creative in residence program there. We really want to integrate somebody who can come in and be a little bit more involved than maybe a one-off presenter might be. So somebody who's going to share their creative practice also in the space, we're going to give them an area to display their work. We're going to do a mini exhibition of their work over here, right outside this door, actually, once their residency is over. And then they'll also help during these themed studios to help design some of the offerings in this space too. So hopefully it's a little bit of a give and take for somebody to feel a little bit more connected to the work we're doing there. And just to give you a overview of what we're looking at for our studios. So these will kick off in September. We're going to use July and August to kind of like finish building out the space and just kind of get all the things worked out in that new area for us. But in September, we're probably going to kick off with Fiber Studio. That's everything from weaving, sewing. Sewing is one of our most popular programs in Building 61 now. So we know that there's a huge community interest, and we also have a lot of resources to launch fiber-based programs, fabric dyeing, knitting, all of those
But
things.
they could like have like a little show me how kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Sign up on.
yep, so similar to Building 61, there'll be classes, and then open studios might be more like, here's all the, we'll have looms in here today, and we'll have this, and you can come in and use the equipment based around those themes. So it's more of, like I said, kind of like a deep dive into one particular area. We're also, some of our other first ones will probably be a home improvement studio, kind of a more tactile, like 101, how do you patch your wall and your drywall and do some of those things. Printmaking and design, we do a lot of printmaking now with screen printing and poster making already, and electronics. So more to come. There's a lot more ideas than that. Also, just because it's a fan favorite, Maker Made is another element of the Makerspace programs coming up. It's our community open call for maker works in the gallery. So that'll be happening in September and October. Our group also oversees special events. So if there's any random happenings that come our way that get pitched to us, my group is the one that takes them on. The biggest one of these is our Jaipur Literature Festival, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, but we partner with the Teamwork Arts team that puts on the Jaipur Literature Festival in Jaipur, India, and plan all year with them for this 2 to 3 day kind of transformation of the library, which I think it really kind of manifests the spirit of the master plan of, being a forum for ideas and a place for civic civil dialogue. For those couple days, it's like the whole building is living that. And so it's a pretty great special event. Also coming our way for our team, the Carnegie team is joining programs and events. And I think it'll be a really good fit because one of the key parts of Carnegie is really going to be reactivating that space. And I think the support from our team will be able to help do that. So once we hire a new manager, Jen and I are in the process of interviewing people right now. We are going to be working towards integrating Carnegie into the programs and events team. We've already been partnering with them a lot over the last year. And we're planning to reinstate public hours this fall. So that'll involve developing kind of a new service model over there. We're also going to be evaluating if and what collections we could possibly move to the Gun Barrel location, because there's the compact, I was going to say expandable, but the shelving there that Carnegie is pretty busting at the seams in terms of the collections. And so if there's some that makes sense, that might be a nice way to create a little more space in that building. We also are going to be just, like I said, trying to reactivate the space through increased programming, thinking through what happens in that building. And then we'll be looking ahead to next year, starting to reimagine what the reading room could look like, and if there's any other space modifications that building could have.
Reading room.
It's the main room. Yeah.
So, David, when we were there, did you say there were 2 things that people really need?
It's like the 80-20 reflecting. So 80% of the people coming in are accessing 20%. Property records and genealogy. So it is,
So any thought into moving those things together? I those work to do more on the things with space that fits in the. It's not structure. Just-
But somebody floated the idea of having a day a week at Gun Barrel where then would be established. You can make appointments to get stuff. We haven't really talked about it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I don't.
But yeah, it's
I'm just
possible.
throwing it out there. We're in the conversation.
Yeah,
You will have a better idea about it than I will, but that's.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be, once we get this new manager, we'll be. And we have one other position to fill there too. We'll be looking at all the different possibilities, how that can work out. Just as a quick example of where our team will come in, and help guide kind of the larger thinking. So we'll be looking for things that are relevant to the community. So we're in an election year, so our team came up with, like, we should be focusing on something to do with democracy and elections. And also not just learning, but bringing back a little bit of like joy into the process and celebrating what it means to be a democracy. So our team will bring that and we'll tell all the branches, we're thinking about this. Do you all want to participate? Do you need help with thinking through these things? So this is just a sampling of everything from film screenings to making activities to discussions for all ages that we'll be doing in September and October, leading up to the
It
election.
would be good for like trustees to come and talk about being either being a trustee or one of the things we, as a board, we need to recruit new trustee members, as we'll lose one next year, well, not lose one, but we'll cycle off, and unless he reapplies with different quad.
Yeah.
You will,
Short time.
so it'd be a good place. So one of the things is like, especially with different communities that we might be involved with, is having a trustee come and talk about for a few minutes, being a trustee and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and this kickoff event that we're doing on September 5th, we're showing a documentary called Join or Die. Have any of you seen it? So the essence of it is that for us to come together as citizens, we need to understand each other more. And one way we do that is through social connections. And so the movie is basically calling for people to join social clubs and get to know each other on a different level. And so we're doing the screening with Warm Cookies of the Revolution. If you know them, out of Denver, they're a civic health club. And then we're going to be doing actually a little fair outside to share the library social clubs. So like Social Stitchers, our book clubs. So you all could come and have a table and
Yeah, I think we should.
Right.
yeah,
That'd be awesome.
He's got a film too that would fit right.
well, you all are in. Okay. Well,
Oh, yeah, well, I'll be there, and
yeah, that would be awesome.
I mean, we need multiple events throughout the year, but yeah, that would be a great opportunity, and just to connect with the community is.
Moving into, even though this is the next one will be in 2025, we're already deep into One Boulder. So, if you aren't familiar with it, that's our big community one read. It's a staple in a lot of libraries, and we started ours a couple years ago, actually during the pandemic. And, we tend to pick, more nonfiction books, because one of our goals is not just about getting the community together to read, but actually take action too. So we put out to the community to help us find a theme. We poll them. And this, if you were part of 2023, it was Cultivating Joy was the theme, and we had the Book of Joy. And this year, the community chose Bridging Divides, which we looked for fiction books, and it was really hard to find one that kind of met the brief of the framework, which I think is what people are craving for, is really literally like how to have those hard conversations and how to connect with people. So our team has been working to find a book and an author and go through all those selections. We just found a book, and now we're shifting to starting to develop programming. So this will take place. I'm gonna give you the sneak peek, yeah.
Hmm.
So, the program itself will take place in March and April of next year, but we'll have all our programs planned by December of this year. So we do a lot of active programming. We increase circulation for the book. And then we also promote these community book circles, which is really kind of how One Book, One Boulder I see is going to spread. It really needs to be kind of on a neighborhood level and getting people to talk to each other on that level. So the book circles is a big emphasis and part of our series. So yeah, the sneak peek of our book for next year is The War for Kindness, Building Empathy in a Fractured World by Jamil Zaki. And he's a Stanford professor. And it's nice, it's a shorter book that really kind of talks through almost like a how-to of how to build your, he has resources on his website called an empathy gym. So actually it's very similar to Spiritual Warm Cookies of the Revolution Civic Health Club idea. It's like, how can we build up our empathy muscles? So that will be our book and our author who will come, and our programming team is now shifting to thinking up what are all the great ways to take this in different directions for different age groups. So that's what's on our plate. Yeah, we have a few.
Well, the cookies.
Yeah,
And we do.
they do serve cookies.
Already this year for 2024,
We're doing it every other year.
every other year, okay.
Yeah, and part of that's because the process of getting the author and finding the book takes so long that we'd probably have to be actually starting for, the
Right.
wheels churn so fast. It would be pretty big effort to do it every year.
It's always so cool when you come and share all the great things that we do. Like, we don't think about that. We get, we're in a little box sometimes. So it's so great when you come in and like, oh yeah, here, look, we're doing this, and don't forget we're doing this. So thank you.
The highlight of
Totally.
our meeting. How are we doing on the summer of discovery and attracting non-native English speaking families to participate?
I think we're gonna see a lot more increase in the next coming years because we finally have an outreach team, and a lot of them are bilingual. And so we haven't been able to do that kind of like more like door-to-door neighborhood level outreach. We have a certain key partners, I would say, but I think now that we're gonna have a dedicated outreach team, we'll be able to reach more people. So I would think that that's gonna be something we're really focusing on the next year or two. And we have, a expanded communications team too. So even thinking through new ways to do marketing and outreach to people would be different as well. Any question?
I really want to do some of the events up at the 24 place, so hopefully they'll be on the calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You're free, they're all gonna fill out before you can sign up.
well, it's just,
We'll give you advance warning.
it's a multiple clicks to get on the calendar, to get to the calendar from the website. Hey, it's, so I have to go to, I'm always like, I guess if I read the weekly newsletter, we send a weekly email or is it monthly?
The other week.
Every other week, yeah. If I read, I need to go through and read all of them. They come out.
We usually open up the classes on a particular day, so
A
we'll
week
just give
ahead of time.
you a heads up that you can get on at midnight that night.
Right.
You'll just come, yeah. And the open houses are worth going to, even if you are the most introverted, total lack of confidence, you can go in there and there's a lot of children in there now, my kids. some of
Yeah.
them, But there's a lot of little kids that are sitting there doing whatever they want to do, like crazy stuff.
I wanted to go to the duck thing today, but down at Reynolds, there was like dissecting a duck egg or and a goose egg, and then
Incubating some duck eggs.
maybe.
And then
A bit different.
during the democracy series, you get to
Duck
vote
for
for duck for president. Yeah, there'll be ducks you can vote for.
Ducks, right?
Learn about their platform. Yeah.
Okay. But we can break for you guys want food.
I'd be glad to help you with stuff next March.
Okay.
Space and everybody.
Oh, wow.
Saves,
That's great. Yeah, I think they used one of your films. Yeah, I was gonna say for living room
I'm
conversation.
gonna come back.
We're
Just something, just
Exciting public signal.
Don't even get me started on that.
At the very least, we should.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Do a little.
Sure.
And there's a lot of.
Just basic risk.
I've been battling since the Infrastructure Act to make my clients accept
Here, but
Build America, Buy America. So I don't know that I'm Buy American enough right now. This is.
Well, it's only one of those things where you get somebody to come and.
It's true.
That's the purpose of.
Is this not? Stop it.
Just depending on nights, it's all screwed.
I love Casaba. It's true.
Although I don't know
They
if any.
raised the grant and he needs.
Which.
Then I
Casaba, that should be.
wow, that's cool. Yeah.
think about.
One in.
Yeah, they might have.
So, and then there's one here, I remember the same way on Mason, in that little, by Gondola Street, it's right there.
I'm gonna come back and still.
Yeah, probably one.
That'd be great. Yeah, there's a person on my team, so maybe I'll follow up. Her name's Julian, and I can connect you on,
Yeah.
can start to brainstorm.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
The state conference, okay. Chicken.
It's gonna be a good topic.
How you been?
Yeah, sorry.
Good.
Yeah.
Had a lot going on the past couple months, but all good.
What?
Supposed to be.
I got engaged.
Oh, that's a lot.
I moved. My fiance's father passed away. And sister went off to chiropractic school in South Carolina.
Oh, man,
And
you're
my youngest sister just graduated high school. So a lot going on.
crazy that you have a younger sister who's in high school right there.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
We're doing like a master's program or?
So everything going on the past couple months, I kind of put it off, but
PPI already? You ready?
I'm ready.
No, I was asking.
No.
See.
oh yeah.
Right, person actually not.
Um, So, the building 61 makerspace policy looks like you're also signed up to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really too many changes. We basically just went in and we had to update it to also recognize Studio 24. Just kind of clean up some of the language. We're working on a revised waiver form. We had several different waivers, so we're just trying to kind of make them more uniform across the library and pretty minor modifications, I'd say.
I have no objections to this, but I saw we're no longer accepting donations. Was that just because it was more trouble than it was worth?
I think so, and we, I don't think we are in the space where we necessarily need to take
Sure.
full donations.
You can always donate them to the cycle, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean, it seems fine. I
Yeah.
could see it being more trouble than it's worth.
Does anyone have any comments, questions on the makerspace policy? This is just an amendment of what we approved in the sense of I thought this looked fine. I'd like to make a motion that we approve it. Okay.
I'll second.
It's approved. Any discussion regarding this policy? Are you okay with us approving it tonight?
I'm absolutely okay with it.
All right, then, all in favor of approving the makerspace policy, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that was easy, 20 minutes,
Yeah.
you can get something now.
Yeah.
So Benita said she had comments on this. Number 7. We'll skip number 6, which is the board photo because we're still missing a person.
Well, Can we do the accessibility? Doug?
Oh, I thought you said we weren't gonna do that.
No, I don't
Oh,
want
okay.
entirely. I'd love to get your feedback now so we can maybe
Okay.
improve it next month. So this has been something that was legislative. We've worked with a bunch of different groups over the last year, predominantly over the last few months. 80% of all the stuff on our webpage is to a third-party vendor. The biggest portion being our ILS, which is the integrated library system that contains all of the patron records and all of the catalog, stuff like that. That's through Marmot. That's where 90% of our customers go when they land on our page. They are already compliant. The policy itself is, I mean, I think Kim sent an email like 30 minutes before this meeting began saying like, this way, it's very complicated. And indeed, the change in legislation is complicated only in the sense in which it's making that everyone has to make it accessible. But the only documents, we've done an audit, the only documents that we have that will consistently require some time and effort is the PDFs of your board meetings. So they are all saved as PDFs. And so we're gonna have all of those transferred. And we intend to do that over the course of time and obviously upon request. But I would like to know if there's any question about the accessibility statement, which is the main part of our policy, is saying that we have every intent of making everything accessible, even things that are not currently accessible that are ours, we would change or make accessible to someone if they put in a form saying, I can't get access to this. And then the second part is the feedback procedure. Kim wrote up a separate policy. I think he probably pulled it from some other library that he's written it for. We've also looked at that same policy from another library. And I think he would like for you to approve that at your next meeting. So the full policy, which did he send it to the whole board or just me and you?
I think I hadn't gotten a chance to look at what he said. So
I just curious, there's an accessibility team referenced.
Yeah, I
Is
saw
that just,
Tim, Brittany, Gina, Lisa, Rhea, Craig, are those real people?
Yeah.
The procedure is the staff procedure.
okay,
Oh, okay.
okay, yeah, okay.
So the staff will respond.
Can we ask a really dumb question?
Sure.
Like, what are we talking about accessibility? I started to read this content accessibility guideline 2.1. And then my brain sort of, I was like, is this like a internet thing? Sorry, it's like,
It's mostly so the contents of the page will be legible to someone who is visually impaired.
oh, okay.
You would be able to either have it read aloud to you.
Okay.
And so for that matter, like all of the photographs would have to have metadata that then describes what's in the picture. And that
Right.
comes,
Okay.
and or be a readable document. So far, like when you go in and click research on a webpage, those are all third-party vendors. There must be 100 of them. I don't know. We've gone through the list. Most of them have certified that they have made their successful. They're compliant. Blah. They've posted their accessibility compliance on there from, we've looked at this for other libraries. So what we have to do is go through, double check that list for the handful of vendors that we have and no other library in the state does, which I can't even imagine it's a handful. There may be one or two. We would probably have to directly contact those vendors to see if they're compliant. They probably selling paper. So because Colorado's not the first state to have made this requirement.
And you mean like a third-party website or something?
Yeah, it's all third-party websites. So the content you see from our page, there are a number of pages that we do create and put up. It's limited.
Yeah.
It's limited in terms of what people would go to. And so I think what is it predominantly after the leaving to go to the catalog, it's what are the hours? Perfectly compliant. What was the other one that's big? Well, Carnegie has become bigger in the act. I think it ranks in our top 10 of web pages that are accessible. And so I think we'll have to look more carefully at Carnegie, and they do a great job. They're all archivists. They are already doing a great job of attaching stories to the images. So the stories, the narrative of what is in the image and what the image depicts. That's what they do now. So I should imagine that it'll be translatable, but that's not something I know. Does that make sense, Doug?
Yes.
You're saying anybody that searches for something in Carnegie provided to them information of what's there.
And that's mostly the thing. So, for instance, all the photographs that we hung over the last few weeks in the cafe, those are all images from Carnegie Library. In some cases, the story is way more interesting than the image and may contain, I don't know, 80 to 100 lines of it to describe what is in the image. And that's.
Good evening. The library will be closing in 15 minutes. Please complete your library business and exit the building. Thank you.
And system,
Buenas noches. La biblioteca se cerrará en 15 minutos. Por favor, concluya sus actividades en la biblioteca y salga del edificio. Gracias.
systems like Libby and our other digital lending stuff are already compliant on this front, including the apps and stuff, I assume as well.
I assume so too. The big thing with the legislature is probably gonna punt by July 1st. So Tim in his email to Doug and I today said like, you have to pass this policy by July 1. So it is important that we pass the policy, but it's all, in all likelihood, they punt and give us another year's time. And really the statement, the digital accessibility statement that we have every intention of making everything accessible is the critical component. Like we have to say that, we're not gonna say like, yeah, we don't care about that. We have to say that it is our intent to make everything accessible. And it is my understanding from talking to people at the state library and many other libraries is that if we have a somewhat of a plan to do it, build it out in 3 years' time from the date, July 1st, then we're in good space. I mean, we can't just sit on our butts, but I don't think it's that far. It truly is. The major amount of work is converting PDFs that we did for storing your,
What are we converting them to? Are we just making them accessible
we have to
PDFs?
make them accessible.
They're
PDFs.
still PDFs. Yeah.
We'll have to make them accessible PDFs, and it's like all of your board minutes for however many meetings you had last year, 30, 40, I have no idea. None of them are compliant.
Yeah, okay.
No one has requested them either.
I assume we can start with making sure new minutes going forward are compliant.
That's an excellent question, and I think it's probably for the accessibility team. I'll ask.
They could also watch the video or listen to the video.
They could. See, did they talk to you about that? Did Craig talk to you about making
No.
them?
No, but I've done a bunch of like just kind of training videos last year when this stuff was coming up about accessibility and I don't know, I probably need somebody to look at the minutes, but I'm pretty sure they're not.
Yeah, but
Not-
it's not a huge change.
Yeah.
It might be checking a box when you
Mhm.
generate it or something.
But yeah, I haven't spoken to them yet.
Yeah, Lisa, who is our web app of apps developer who works for Amy, and Craig, who's on the communications team, are the primary points of contact. And they've had way more meetings than I've been in, but this has been going on for over a year. These conversations. And there's relatively easy software that you can use to see whether it's compliant or not.
Just for minor feedback items.
Yep.
I would just say a spreadsheet instead of an Excel sheet, so we're not binding ourselves to a particular program, but it's very tactical.
Which page was that on?
I found it bottom of page 11, right after the AQ. And I see we list the first names of the accessibility team.
That won't be posted. This is just
It's just the,
for us.
yeah, that's fine.
I'll get to see the procedure. It's just kind of like,
Yeah,
this is what we're
sure.
doing.
So this is not a public facing document.
Only the statement up to the, where it says accessibility feedback. That also addresses
Cool.
earlier.
It's helpful.
Earlier.
Yeah, in that case, the Excel thing actually doesn't even matter that much, but, yeah, one way or another. Okay, I think that's all I had.
Okay, so what I'm gonna ask another question, sorry. This web content and accessibility guideline 2.1 at level AA, WCAG component AA. Does that change? I know that it sounds like it changes periodically. You know, I guess we say this statement was prepared 5/2, so whatever it is as of 5/2, 2024. Just thinking if there's a subsequent change and, you know.
The legislature could change it anytime they
It's not
want.
the legislative things that they talked about, that
That's what they're asking for compliance for.
or they want us to comply with. Okay. All right.
And then I think that was an initiative of the governor's office.
Okay,
It's good intent. I think they're getting a lot of pushback
Yeah.
from a lot of small companies and stuff like that.
right. Okay,
It does sound like pretty much everything here is something we would want to be doing.
Yeah.
even without the legislator pushing us there.
Yeah, it's a new day, right? We need to just get it done. And our bad for not having already been compliant. But mostly we are.
The library will be closing in 10 minutes.
Marmot.
Please complete your library business. and
90%
exit
of
the
our
building.
web users,
Thank you.
they land, they say, they go to the catalog. And
La biblioteca se cerrará en 10 minutos. Por favor, concluya sus actividades en la biblioteca y salga del edificio. Gracias.
okay. I do know, I think one of these campaigns, we posted a picture, and didn't put the metadata. Somebody lectured us.
Yeah.
Well. One picture, I'm like, I'm going. Read a day or something. So anyway, I guess people use it, so I'm gonna say, will someone make a motion to approve this digital accessibility state?
So moved.
Thank you. Okay. Any comment? All right, so,
we'll get this posted as soon as we can, and then we'll bring the policy back to you June 18th.
okay. Let's, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Seeing none. We'll move on. Okay. I think we'll skip number 7 and number 6 for right. 6, we're not gonna do. 7, we'll skip, which is approval of the library director. Connie, I'm waiting for Benita. Then she had some comments. And, there she is. But we'll give you a second.
Yeah.
So let's do the treasurer report.
All right, so this is the first time you're seeing a report from our Sage Intact system. So it is the first example of like the comprehensive reporting that we would provide to you. I'm recommending quarterly. I believe the finance committee is recommending quarterly, but we could do it for you more frequently if you'd like. The proposal really is the statement of action activities is as of end of business March 31st. Sage, in fact, obviously gives us the ability to, we could have run it today and printed it out for you and brought it today. I just don't know how useful that will be. And I think quarterly easily enables us to look at percentages spent and stuff like that. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on the actual versus budget on the statement of activities, and then we'll jump to the second.
So would you say that the numbers in the year to date are on track with what you?
Well, no, we had, so we had projected kind of, when we did the budget. But I just a little background, right? So the budget was, something that was based off of years of research that Jennifer and I did, like probably 4 or 5 years of research. We talked to many libraries about percentages of overall budget that would go to certain things. And then we also knew that beginning January 1, we had to scale up as rapidly as we possibly could. And so, the big expenditures on a year-to-year basis, is the biggest is personnel, right? So personnel is about 55 to 60% of your overall budget. It's almost $13 million is what you approved in the budget for 2024. If we were on target, and we did not expect to be on target, we would be at 25%. But I honestly thought we would be beyond half that. So we're at 12%, and that's just the time it takes to hire people. And as I think I wrote to the board a couple of months ago, we were pleasantly surprised at how many of the initial vacancies that we had that were filled by current staff members. So current staff members applied for promotions, not officially a promotion, but they applied for new jobs. They were filling them. That did not increase our outflow of expenses very well because it just created a vacancy where they left. And so that has delayed it somewhat. I think you'll start to see by the next quarterly report, you'll start to see that number take off. April, was our biggest hiring month. May is almost the same. June, things start to taper off a little bit but by the July timeframe, I think you'll start to see that the number is catching up with the percentages. The second area that has a low level of expense, that is a big dollar amount, and was a big part of the budget discussion, is maintenance of buildings, right? So maintenance of buildings is something that
The library will be closing in 5 minutes. Please complete your library business and exit the building. Thank you.
La biblioteca se cerrará en 5 minutos. Por favor, concluya sus actividades en la biblioteca y salga del edificio. Gracias.
maintenance of buildings and 2 new locations were a big part of the campaign to win the district. Obviously, neither one of those, none of those currently are a source of expenses. We do have planned, and we've talked about, we're bringing forward a strategic plan for the backlog, hopefully in the fourth quarter of this year or first quarter of the next year. We will ask you to budget for it in October, as we did last year. And so you're budgeting quite a chunk of change to go towards addressing the backlog within each of our buildings. But right now, we just had a team start in March. We have facilities people on staff in March. We had one person from January and February. And so you are seeing basically really less than kind of 1 month of activity on that account. It will vastly accelerate when we have a plan in place and you've approved that. I think the backlog is something like $12 million. We plan to present that to you to address. I mean, that's a ballpark number. We plan to have as a part of the strategic plan to address the backlog, a company that will do accurate pricing of the materials as it were today, and we'll space it out over 5 to 7 years so that you can know when we're replacing the windows at Carnegie, and you'll know how much that costs, and we can budget for it going forward. And that'll be the other big expense. The other things, the things that are on target, legal fees, collection development budget, these are the things that we know how to do already. We have a strong infrastructure for doing them, the collection budget. And so they're kind of on target. Although we did almost double the money for collections this year. It went up over 60%. They knew at the gate, and that's a fun job to buy a bunch of new books from Novo and plan to buy a bunch of new books for Gun Barrel, and then just also increase the amount of book money that we have for spending on collections.
And then I was also curious about IT support, because that's like at 39%.
Yeah, so a lot of that had to do with the capital investment that we made right out of the gate. The monthly fee is what we expected to be, and I should expect that number will level out, but then Gun Barrel will be, now that we locked into it for this year, there will be expenses related to IT. We were just out there today, and I think it was Amy's first time in the building. So, they've cut the fiber, they've cut everything. So we're gonna have them on that reconnected and installed to the building. And so there will be costs associated with that, capital costs.
Were you surprised by that? That they cut?
No, I wasn't surprised by anything because I don't know. I don't go in and rent the library every day, but Amy was like, I don't think this is code. Like, I think you're supposed to cut it and leave the fiber just hanging there, which, they took all their stuff. They took all their stuff, all the connections. The easiest thing to do was like cut the wires, and that's what they did. And so
Power's on, right?
we have power.
Good.
Yeah, we have power, some power. They've shut off most of the breakers. It seemed like today, maybe the HVAC was on. I had thought it was out last week when I was there, but
Have we notified sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
we've been calling all the companies. We are looking at extending the contracts for a lot of the vendors that were there already. So like lawn maintenance, we don't have somebody for lawn maintenance.
Our insured.
Insurance on it, yeah. So that we turned in,
Yeah.
in January. No, in January.
Oh, okay.
We knew approximately what the value of the building was at that time. And so, I was talking to them today. We'll take out $2 million in liability and insure the contents of the building at around, I can't remember, $400,000 or $500,000. I have to go back and see. So we are going to do some minor changes to the building. We're going to punch a hole in the wall to automated sorter contact. I don't know what's, but there's several things that we'll be doing. I would say minor modifications to the building. Yeah, gun barrel, the insurance is a constantly moving target. You know, I guess the questions are you comfortable with this data quarterly? Are you comfortable with this? Would you like to see it more frequently for the time being? It's easy for us to run the reports. I just,
Attention, the library is now closed. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Atención, la biblioteca está cerrada. Gracias por acompañarnos hoy y esperamos verlos nuevamente.
We need to start moving on our part.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
we'll bring
Can you
them.
say that again? I can't hear you.
Our part of our governance in terms of approving budgets moving forward. That work begins really in July.
We've begun work already. We will bring you a draft of a budget in August to discuss some of the things that we're planning.
So
We'll bring you the budget back in September for a first reading.
So,
or
so the
October.
first part of that would have half a year's worth of data. Actual data.
Yeah.
So when we're gonna then get into it in September. Come back, we would have the next. We'd have the next quarter to match till October.
Yeah, and we talked about this, at the finance committee. You're not gonna have good data this year. Again, you're gonna be, I mean, it won't be as much of a leap of faith as last year. But there's a certain leap of faith that you'll be making in the budget decisions again this year, October. and November.
So can we, is it too much trouble to then in September come back in? With spending year to date to through August as we start.
Yes,
this
we can do that.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I really think we're gonna need all of July before we actually see a reasonable month. And actually, we really need through October to see what a real cost is for the library. So we'll bring back the best information we have for you to make a decision. And there are some things we can already tell, right? We know, or Jennifer and I know, it's probably not evident to you looking at the things where we, because most of it was estimates, right? We used formulas that were provided to us by other libraries, or by the city of Boulder, to estimate the cost of certain things. In some cases, we were over, and in some cases we were under, and we have to make those adjustments, and we'll make those adjustments when we put together the budget for you.
But as it is now, sort of 2024 approved budget one.
Yeah.
You were as a hedge. It's surplus building, that's not a deficit basically.
Oh, yes,
Right.
there's a surplus. And so we had planned on we had told you, I think it was gonna be a $3 to $4 million surplus in year one. That was based off of estimates about how long it was gonna take us to ramp up. I think it's gonna be more than that. But so, like I said, I think we're behind a little bit on where I anticipated we would be to ramp up. And that has to do with a number of different factors, no one single thing. The big thing being we don't have a facilities plan. Like that was, I think you guys put close to $2 million and a little over $2 million in facilities, maintenance and, capital expenses. And so, yeah, we're not gonna hit it, not even close. The personnel, we are not fully staffed. I don't know what the gap is yet, but we are rapidly hiring up to being fully staffed. And I think Novo's now online, right? There's still vacancies all across the board. I know public services has 4 vacancies. So getting all those things up to speed. What I keep telling the staff is by the end of July, we'll hit stride. And so August could be a good month for us to get a sense of what the real reporting is, but we'll have 1 month out of 12. And so your year-to-date expenses will still be horribly askew because 7/12 of the year will have been under expensed because of the time it takes to ramp up and the fact that we don't have a facilities capital program.
Well, yeah, we couldn't spend the money fast enough, I guess, from a manpower perspective, like we just couldn't do that. We could start hiring in January 1st.
Yeah.
But it'll, but other than that,
The expenses are where you're really gonna fall short of spending the money is the hires and the maintenance.
Yeah.
That is basically capital that we're banking that we're gonna spend in the future.
Yeah.
So when the argument comes, oh, you should lower the mill rate. Say, actually, no, we're on track here.
Yeah, so I mean, the capital expense by ballpark for facilities maintenance is probably 12 to 15 million over the course of 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. So that's a huge chunk of change. That doesn't include redoing Carnegie, which is kind of, I mean, more than simply what the maintenance requires. So that will be a major expense, and I think probably minimum, including doing all of the repairs that are required, we're probably talking $3 million. It could be 10, it could easily be 10, but I don't think we're gonna spend that because we don't have 10 million to do it. And then, you know, as soon as we're done with that, the lease for Meadows expires in 2029, and we have to find something there, right? So that's 29 may seem like a long way away to you. It doesn't to me. And, you know, before you know it, we're gonna be making a decision about what we want to do in that community, which is, it is, as soon as Novo opens next month, it will be our smallest location. It is our second busiest location after this one by a long shot, by significant numbers. It's the second largest service population. We draw radii around the libraries where the libraries are located. We look at all the card holders and population within that area, try to draw a service population number from it, and I would say the Meadows Library is by far our largest. Most Reynolds, Gun Barrel, Novo, it's all between 12 and 20,000. You know, Meadows is over 30. And so we will have to address that sooner rather than later. And those are major costs, right? Major capital costs.
I think we're gonna talk about that at the retreat. That'll be one of the retreat topics in August.
This doesn't worry me at all. I mean, you know, the capital expense and the staffing expense will be there close. I'd love a month or two before the end of the year where it looks like more like what it's gonna look like. The capital expenditures around maintenance, you're not gonna probably see this year. If you approve the plan in the fourth quarter, we'll get started in earnest in 2025. And then it's a matter of like bringing in outside crews to do work. Because it's not something that a maintenance department of 3 people can actually do.
That point you raised, like, we're not gonna look at a bunch of extra money laying around at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We have.
No, we just need to
so we're gonna
So David,
spend it.
if,
Yeah, we need to.
David, if you commented on this before and I missed it, I apologize if you have to repeat yourself, but have you heard anything from the city beyond the note that you have here
No,
related to the invoice?
we're still waiting on an invoice, but I mean, they'll give it to us by the end of the month. I'm quite certain by June 30th, we'll have an invoice. They promised it.
But
I think they'll do it. We're, Adriana is
they get
talking to
paid,
them.
they will. Me? If they want to get paid, they will. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, so when they send us the first invoice, we'll make the first payment. I mean, it's.
You think this is the amount for doing something?
We'll make half of that. No, it's close. It's probably less than that.
Okay. That's like $1 million over.
What they estimated. So I'm not sure if this number is totally accurate. There have been several bills that we have received that we paid and so I don't.
Oh, okay, so they're.
Don't quote the 14.9
Oh, okay.
at this point.
Okay.
I mean, they estimated 13.8. It'll be between 13.8 and 14.8.
Yeah.
But I don't know what.
We've paid some already.
We paid some bills that came,
Minor, some of those are our consulting fees that they paid.
yeah, and some others had to do with some IT.
We didn't pay those back. Those will be part of this.
Okay.
What we've paid are incidental things,
Okay.
small things.
And they also haven't reconciled the impact fees, so that has to be reconciled. That'll come as a deduction because I'll take that money out. I don't know what it would be. A typical year is around $350,000. That money will come out and go to the city and be deducted off of our bill.
Okay.
The impact fees collection stops though. Oh, we open up, no. We will not get impact fees for the rest of the year. So.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
So the last thing I want to, and we spend most of the finance committee talking about is like. Looking at this document, I think is very helpful. It's good guidance. It's not necessarily what. I think it means in your job description that you have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the library is running properly. And so we talked a little bit about some of the metrics that I will use and have used in libraries for a long time, and we'll report out on those periodically going forward. So you know, what does the community want to know? I mean, they still come here predominantly for stuff, right? For free stuff. And it will be important, I think, for us to report out, you know, maybe quarterly, something like that on how much money we spend on putting a book on the shelf. So it's not just the cost of the book, it's the cost of the shelver to put the book on the shelf. It's the cost of all the team that orders the book, the fees, all of that kind of stuff. And so we will be providing you data on a quarterly basis because that is a good metric. In the past, we've said in the master plan that we were aiming for, it was 14 or 16% of our overall budget was expended on collections. I think we're going to be over that. The Boulder Public Library, as a part of the city, we struggled to stay at 10%. I think it's best practice is 14 to 16%. Most libraries in Colorado have given up on that number as labor costs have gone up and money has become tight and circulation has decreased. They've stopped spending money on collections. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you spend less money, then your circulation is going to go down. Fewer people will come to check out books. I've looked at this data for over 20 years. You know, one of the best metrics we can have is like the amount of money we spend on new books is critical to driving people to the library and helps our circulation rate, which at least ostensibly is assisting with the literacy rate, and it's a critical component of what we do. The other one is staffing as an overall cost of the budget. And I think, you know, we're right now, we're in even underspent. We're at about 53% of our budget, but I think my best practice would be, and I've never gone over in all the libraries I've worked at in all the years I've worked, over 60%. And so again, that's a tough metric to hit once we're running. You don't want to see all your money going towards staffing. If there was a major shift away towards programming, obviously that's a labor intensive cost. Programs like Boulder Reads, Building 61, those are all super labor intensive. If in the next 10 years, we obviously double down on all of those, rather than on the idea that we're trying to get people to come back to the library and check out books and do all that kind of stuff, then that number might go. But you should expect an explanation for why the number is above 60%. So that would be another number we would report out on. Sam, do you remember some of the other ones we talked
I think
about?
those are the two, and then just making sure we have a plan for the maintenance backlog. So it doesn't look like we're sitting on a bunch of extra money that we have a use for. I think those. Okay.
So those metrics, I think, will help you better, use this document to see that you're spending to do things in the manner in which the community would want. With that said, do you want to jump to the next page?
Real quick on this one, David.
Yeah, please.
And this is more to make sure I know how to read this than anything else. The year-to-date balance for personal expenditures is still wrong on the corrected document, right? That should be the difference of the two numbers to its left. That 4708 number.
Yes. Yeah, that's not
Incorrect. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and so the second sheet you have is the balance sheet, which is, I think, it's a good way to remind you, and that's something that you can look at every quarter or every month. Again, as we're looking for feedback from you about what you want to see. This also has an error on it, minor. It's not that, so it's as of date 5/24/2024. It's really expenditure, but not your assets and cash equivalents. Those are as of March 31st. So
No, I ran this report on the 24th.
yeah, but it's not the actual numbers because Adriana hasn't actually put the stuff in Sage Intact to
Okay.
reflect the accurate picture yet.
Gotcha.
So we have 15 million in Chase account, as you instructed us to back in January. That's the big one. That's the CDs currently have in excess of 15 million. It shows 10 here because that's what it was on March 31st.
Where did we land on non-cash assets? Like, or putting those on the balance sheet, or they're not on here now, but like the stuff.
Yeah, that's gonna take some time. I mean, I think it's Adriana and Jennifer maybe speak to it more. I mean, Adriana's intent, and we ask her every single thing we're doing, like, is this something that goes on the asset sheet? So I think she's building it, but I don't think.
We haven't started building it yet. It's a whole nother module to the system that we haven't delved into yet.
And then the other question was, should we call out a reserve amount on the balance sheet that's in a whether it just says reserves and it's still sitting in the Chase checking account, or just name it so that the public knows that we have our required reserves.
Yeah.
On hand.
Just a general question about our practices as well, probably something you guys have already discussed. Do we do anything in terms of treasury management to hedge against the fact that all of this money is in excess of the FDIC insurance limits?
Talked a little bit about that, and we currently, obviously, we're way over. So, and I only have my experience in small nonprofits where we always spread it around, so we didn't exceed. But this is a different kind of entity, and I'm not sure what the best practice is.
Yeah, so we can. So Chase is required for government accounts to insure them at 102%. So whatever we have in the account is insured at 102%.
By the bank themselves?
And so they have to carry collateral equivalent to 102. What's
We would be, if Chase went belly up, we would be first on the creditors line.
that I couldn't say.
The problem is, I don't think we have another bank we can use. This is the only bank we can use. Yeah,
And this was just such a short-term thing, because this is basically our repayment.
Sure, but we're always gonna be sitting on a decent chunk of cash.
yeah.
We have seen a number of bank failures in the last year.
Well, we talked about this in length, and our kind of conclusion was also that if Chase,
It's
So-
too big to fail bank.
yeah, we would all be in a lot more trouble, probably from a global perspective. But yeah, I mean,
Okay, so as long as.
Yeah, yeah, we-
consider-
we're also, we are depending on the federal government to be bank.
Okay.
I do think we'll probably move our investment accounts before the end of the year. So we currently are doing with Chase. It's okay, like we earn not quite 5% on the 15 million that we have in CDs, but we could earn more from College Trust. So College Trust is a state certified investment where most districts invest their money. It's based on, you get a daily. And so, there were some days this year that I wish we had been, like, because there was some students where the money increased by a lot. And they've done, on average over the course of the year, they're doing a little over 5 sometimes. I mean, there was a library I talked to that was at 7% for their last 12.
Are we allowed to buy US treasuries?
I don't know. That's again, we are so restricted in terms of where we can invest, but we can look into that.
Again, just common treasury management strategy.
Probably by the end of the year, though, our balances will be in the $4 to $6 million. Maybe how much? Well, don't you think they'll be in the 4 to 6 million? And in the, like, we're gonna get rid of 14 million by the end of the year, so
Yeah, no, I think it'll be higher.
you think it'd be a little higher, okay? Yeah,
So
'cause
that's what I was saying. I think, we had planned on around $3 to $4 million in carryover.
Yeah,
I can easily imagine it being twice that.
okay. I believe it.
We didn't buy a building in Gun Barrel. We thought we were going to. We're not gonna spend $200,000 in rent. And we put $2.5 million aside for that purpose. And so that money will have to be reinvested, and it's either Carnegie or Meadows in all likelihood, but it'll be reinvested and maybe accelerate the pace where we can make a decision on Meadows.
Looking at the time. Any more comments or?
I like the quarterly idea.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good with quarterlies.
And what about the narrative? So nobody brought it up yet, but Kara's on the finance committee. She did like the short narrative that Adriana put together. Like, for some people, some said he'd never read it. I don't think I read it. But I think for some people it had value.
I thought it added value. You don't have.
Yeah, I liked it.
So we can ask her to do a short narrative, and we can also do a memo attached to the sheet quarterly, and I think we'll have a better sense of what that memo will state in the future, much like what I just said. Thanks.
So do you think the next one, the regular meeting in July for second quarter?
Yeah.
We'll do it a month.
Yeah, we talked about the second meeting of the month after the quarter ends. We should have financials.
So your second meeting in July.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you. Well, it's a work in progress. anyone wants to provide more comments on it, they're welcome to talk to David or the Treasury Committee, Kara and Alan.
Just wondering if we would have or need a financial report for our sharing with, our briefing with council and county commissioners.
We will not need the 2024 budget. We will supply them with the 2023.
Do we want to provide them with our, any current financials?
That's in August and we're doing that, so.
Mhm.
I think the best
But-
thing to would just be the budget, because that's what we've approved.
Yeah,
And
but
that-
it might be,
And
but yeah.
we can talk about it.
Maybe
We'll see.
it's. Yeah, just in,
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah.
We can look at, see what we have. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable putting this in front of them, because I really don't wanna explain it, you know? So,
This goes back to the having the narrative.
yeah,
That's really important for any document lands outside of this room.
right,
'Cause
Well,
not-
Well, everything in this room is public.
yeah, everything.
it's already posted.
But
I
think that
I'm just saying, if we're turning something over.
Right,
having the
Mhm.
narrative says, this is what you're getting.
right,
It's gonna be a lot more helpful being there to answer questions.
right.
It'll be a lot easier to read next year too, when we've paid off the 14 million.
The audit, that's on there, and I haven't heard anyone.
He's called us.
Yeah,
No, and we do intend to reach, I mean, so Adriana's begun sharing some
data with the auditor.
data, and so my expectation, since it's due at the end of July, I mean, it's a pretty simple audit this year. It's not very complicated. The 2023 budget is what they're auditing, but I expect they'll be contacting you in June, as they promised.
Yes,
Mhm.
let's, I thought there was contact us in like March or April, so but. Yeah, let's figure out where he's at on.
Another thing that we discussed sharing, and we didn't, I thought it was gonna be in the packet, but it wasn't. Do you want more frequent expense accounts for the board's activity? So that's something that we did share with the finance committee.
It's in here, it's just.
Is it?
it's
Oh, I
just
missed it.
the- Yeah. it's
Oh, okay.
statement Of activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not in the manner as before.
Okay.
If you want the grueling entry level detail, we can give it to you, but this is high level. By category.
It's come up a couple of times as a question. So if you want something like that, you just have to say you want it, and then we can print out every detail.
I think this is pretty efficient.
Okay. So, we'll move back to item number 7. The approval of the library district's contract, but, so what page is that on?
Is that is 31?
So. This is the same contract we've seen multiple times with the addition of section. Which is 2024, 2025 goals for the contract year, and we've discussed these with David. And actually David helped put a lot of these together. And he'll be reading them. So that is the contract, and any comments on the contract? I will write up something on your accolades in, future. I haven't done it yet, but, I will do that. And,
I have one question. Look on the security.
no, we're on the library district contract,
So
number 31.
what I was trying to recall is if the contract actually references the job description.
The
Or
job
did we-
description,
Did we just attach the job description to the contract?
I think under D, duty,
Moody's is kind
is,
of.
is the summary of the job description.
Do we want to reference a job description.
This one seems to, this is like 17 different duties. Not everything that's in the job script. Have that in front.
Mm-hmm. It's different, yeah.
Oh, it is. Like, is something missing?
Mm-mm.
Well, I know you're working on a new job description. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, or I could share that, maybe.
Yeah. You can
And
share
then, so my outreach efforts extended to connecting with a employers council. And would you take one of these? and
Oh,
pass
sure.
that around? And thank you for the color copies. And did we get enough?
I think so.
Did you get
Okay.
more?
Yeah.
And so after connecting with Brandy about this, what I asked for and what she did deliver here was a review of the existing job description. Right, and because she said, do you want an audit of the position? And I was like, no, I do not want, I want to stay focused on the job description that we have and because we did not have employers council in place when we, prepared the job description and, I just think it would be a good thing for us to have a professional review of this. And so what you have is what she sent to me this morning at like 11 o'clock. And so I didn't have any time to do much more than print it out and share it with you now. But,
Do you think that the list of essential functions, we're probably gonna want to make sure that none of that. What's
Yeah.
in the already? And, or, maybe. Maybe they're fine, but I do think we want to
Yeah.
be careful about that.
Yeah.
And then additional
And then, like,
responsibility.
in order of importance. And so, yeah, you'd look at like this list of like 17 things and you wonder, is that in order of importance?
So are you?
Sure, I can do this tonight. Are we expected to go through the fine print in red here? So,
No, I was just sharing with you what I had received. I said at 11 o'clock this morning. And so, but it was in response. And so I'm just appreciate the fact that she did follow, that interests and what we wanted to get here.
Where's the job description published? Is this something that will be available with the contract or?
Well, that's what I was trying to recall is how we,
So my understanding is, and Sylvia, I think you helped, is that, last year when we created the contract for the library director, they looked at multiple job descriptions. They took the city job description that he had, and they looked at other contracts, and then they incorporated the duties of from the job description into section D here, I believe. And is that what you
I
think?
cannot recall that for sure.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I can't recall that specific for sure.
and so, just to kind of go back, so. And I think Benita in early April mentioned, well, so that may not happen, but so we approved this contract, reviewed it and approved it last April or last year in May or June, and then so now we're back to reviewing it again. We did a review earlier this year and, of David, where we all put in input. And.
that led to the shaping of the
Yeah,
goals that are a
that
part
led
of
to
the
the
contract.
shaping. Yeah.
It's in there. And then the second part of it then was to sort of get this review of the job description and sort of figure out like, to get that sort of professionally reviewed and in place and aligned with
Right.
professional level position and
So my recommendation was going to be that we approve this contract and then we continue to work on the job description and maybe through the governance committee or.
yeah, I don't, because I don't think it impacts the goals, right? Or
Right.
anything that's in the contract or
Right.
related to that. But it does impact, I mean, I think it has some bearing on like the 17 things
The
that are,
duties.
yes.
And I guess, so there's just a couple of things on that. So what if there's something, I'm just trying to think out loud here. What if there's something in this document that, I mean, we're not gonna go back and amend the contract later on, because my worry is, we have to come to an end point at some point. And say,
Right.
this is done.
Right.
And I'm like, where do we stop with the adjustments to language?
Yeah, I would say we stop tonight and approve this, and we could put this, we have a new job description that's been audited. This is
Well, we
my,
don't have,
we have this construction that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then we could work on this for the next year contract or when we renew. That would be my 2 cents. I'm just looking at this briefly. A lot of these goals are already included in here, so.
What's our view of the relationship between job description and the contract? Is that the job description is the platonic ideal and the contract is our specific execution? I'm trying to reconcile why we have two documents.
in fact, the woman with Employers Council wanted to confirm, what the distinction was and if he was a contractor consultant. And I said, no, he's not that, or an employee, and it's an employment contract, right? Which is what it is. But because we had an employment contract with David and he was in a dual-hatted role last year, right? Because he was both a city employee and in this transition, the district director during that time. So he really did have like this, 2 different job descriptions. You did have this contract, right? And you were in this, transitional place, right, with the city. So that's why we had to have, sort of that structure in place. But there are things in the job description that I think better align with the role of this leader of the organization that are more, I think, refined than the 17 points that are listed here.
Okay.
And I get that, and I think that's fine. My concern is that once we agree to this and he signs it, we can't go back and go, oh yeah, here's another little bit of duties that you have to follow. And, we need to make sure that when it's ready to be signed,
Yeah.
it's done.
Well, I thought we didn't need to, I thought this was to be signed in June.
Yes,
And our next meeting is June.
June 18th.
So we don't have as much time.
No,
So I guess I could put it to the board. Do we, should we incorporate, try to reconcile the job description into the duties that Benita created, or should we just move ahead with the regular contract, or?
so I have a
Go ahead.
recommendation.
I just had a question
ahead.
for Sylvia,
Yeah.
for your point about conflicting language, there's duty 17 is one of those other duties as a sign number, so doesn't it, everything else kind of fit?
Well, but unless this has language about things that are in 1 through 16.
Yeah.
They're not the same.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's where it could be a problem.
And so and the job description might have.
Right. And we won't know until.
What were you gonna say?
I think that in the essence of the essential functions and these, the points that have, the percentages attached, I think those bullet points really capture everything that's in the listed 1 through 17
okay,
of this, this professional role and the functions of the position. And she offered some editing of that, and added in some, some descriptions and, that kind of thing. But I think if we could focus on refining those pieces, that section and inserting that as a substitute for the 1 through 17 piece.
okay.
You've seen these?
This time I haven't, but
No.
it doesn't look.
But he's seen the job description, but yeah.
So is
But
this
her
job
notes.
description that you gave employers, or is this
He's the one, he's the one that,
This is
gave-
the one from the city that they.
no,
commented on?
it's the one that he gave me that,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, that had been the one that
So,
we agreed to.
is everybody, so if we, nods or no, tell me, and I'm comfortable. Do people want to take this job description and incorporate it in there? How are people feeling? I personally would just like to continue, like, sign the contract and move forward because we reviewed it so many times. And I would like to take this for next year. It has been audited, that we can, make amendments for the contract next May. That's my personal opinion and.
What do you mean it's been audited?
Well, you took this to employers council and have reviewed it with
Okay.
them, and we'll just take that input and incorporate it into the contract next year. That was
Okay,
my comment.
It can go either way. I do think our goal should be to eliminate having two separate documents.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We'll have one contract and we'll take the.
So if we, I mean, either we can incorporate it now, we incorporate it next year, and then the job description as a document should cease to exist, and the
Correct.
contract should be the canonical document going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the job description right now doesn't exist
Outside from a
binding
piece of paper, yes.
document beyond.
Steve, is there anything in the, how do you feel about what's outlined here as essential functions versus the 17 bullets? Do you have a preference of one over the other as it fits to how you've been managing this?
No, I have to, this one looks, like, looks less complete.
looks what?
Less complete, right? So I think it does add language that provides some nuance to the more simply stated goals, but there are more, or not duties, but the duties list is more comprehensive, but that's based on, I mean, I sent this to Benita from, I can't remember which library this was, but
I thought this was yours.
no, we didn't have one, as that I know of. I had the job description with the city, that's not this. And then I had sent you several links to other library directors' jobs.
No, this was the one that you sent. That was yours. I thought you had said that, because it had folder library in there and it had and it has the references to the university and Europa, and I thought this was the one that we,
It's maybe been what we were operating off of last year.
yeah.
But in any case, I'm fine either way. Like, if it's about 70 things or 17 things, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna sign it. If you want to change it mid-year, I don't care. I'll sign it. Like, I'm not particular about it. I don't see anything on the list. And then glancing through this, I don't see anything on this list that would not be a reasonable expectation for the job. So is that simply enough?
I kind of just feel like we're going to, like, these do not look substantially different than what we have in here. And if now we're gonna go back and we're.
I feel like at some point we have to
Word.
pull the trigger
Yeah.
and do it.
Yeah.
Like, we could work on this document, conceivably forever. We need to reach an endpoint is my.
But it's not that I don't think this work is
Right.
valuable,
Right.
because I do think it is valuable and I think we will be able to use it. But I'm just hesitant, mainly just from my own time perspective, that I'm gonna have to go back, or Kim or somebody, we're gonna have to just reconcile this document, and then I would bring it back to you, and then we're gonna, somebody, we'll have more questions, and then, we'll be mid-July by the time we get it approved, and I personally think we looked at this like 3 times, we approved it last year.
Okay, but, okay. Well, you should have, yeah, okay. I did what I thought you all were asking me to do, and so
No,
I followed through, and she
Yeah.
did respond, and so,
Yeah, I
that's
know.
it. But I'll pick
But
up
the
my
goals
list.
we've added and got the goals in there, and I think that was a valuable contribution, and I do think this is.
Okay, and it did not cost us anything more. Apparently, we have like the premium rate with the Employers Council, because she originally said, oh, I'm gonna have to charge you an hourly rate or whatever. And I said, well, I have to talk really fast and I don't want to spend more than 5 hours a time, blah, 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 total or whatever. But then she said, oh, no, but you have the premium rate, so I could whatever. So anyway, I'll just say
Well,
we
I
are
do
done.
think this is a great exercise for the future, because now we kind of understand, and we haven't this was our first year doing the evaluation. This is the, first year, reviewing this or second year of reviewing this contract, but, having the job employers council look at it. So I do think this is valuable work that we'll build upon.
But I don't think we have, our contract with them ends,
Annual. We will renew it. We've got, I don't know if,
we may not
Same, right?
premium,
yeah, I don't know if we'll renew at the same level.
so,
We'll pay.
but somebody could do that, but, I don't know, I lost my thought about that.
It sounds like all the work that you did can be used to just build that out in the contract next year.
Okay, but there, I know what I was,
And then we can take that, look at the performance on what are in these 17 things this year. Is there anything in there we ought to bring over? We have sort of better language to move forward, starting in 2025.
yep, and if David's comfortable with this and he likes this other thing better, and that's all good too. The piece I was gonna say though is that we need an evaluation schedule so that, related to the goals and what you've asked for is like some kind of schedule of like when this review happens with David and what that is like, and going forward, when do we start a review? And if it is a 360, when does that kick off and that process?
And maybe that's something you and I can like collectively propose some things and
Mhm.
kind of a governance-y kind of thing.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yep, so that was like
come up
the
with
third
like a-
piece
like
after
a
this.
draft schedule or something. Yeah.
Yep,
So we'll review that, we'll send that to the governance committee on an evaluation schedule. Yeah. Okay, so any comments on the contract that we will make a motion to approve here in a second? Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve
Oh, okay.
unless somebody else has something they want to say.
well, to approve
The contracts, it'll be,
as it is
As it is.
written.
yeah, you'll be authorizing me to sign it.
That's what the approval is. In
Just
June.
From my understanding, where do we actually, when and how do we set David's compensation? I see we have the compensation paragraph, there's almost the actual numbers.
That's what I wondered about too.
Jennifer. We took a big pot of money and divided it by the number of employees and David got that amount. The same amount as everybody else.
4%.
Yeah, so that's what we're planning on doing. So it's different for, it was a
We did pay level.
proposal that the whatever the personnel the committee had come up with last year, and it's called pay leveling. So it is you take the overall pot of money that you have to do salaries, and then it's divided equally among everyone. So in that respect, it's not 4%, it's 4% of the overall budget personnel. And so a person at the lower earning level may have gotten, I don't know, 15 or 20%. And the people at the higher end got a lower percentage. And I think that's what our proposal is for 2024. And I'm good with that. We don't have we don't currently have we will have for 2025 a performance measurement plan, but we jettisoned that in the last year of the life because the city's plan really didn't work. So we got rid of
Well, we didn't have the bandwidth to do evaluations at the end of the year and set up a library district.
So I think his current.
Yeah, that's-
His current pay is around 180K, 182K annually. That's base, that doesn't include benefits.
That's fine. I was just
Yeah.
curious because we didn't say the details.
It was an attachment on the last.
Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, it was also during an executive session, so you would have.
Yes, okay.
So,
Well,
Right.
why wouldn't we put the dollar amount in the contract?
I think we will. When I go to complete this,
And where would that be?
probably. Are you
No,
around?
no, I'm just asking you, like, where
Oh.
would you put the dollar?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so what we need to approve is the contract as written, plus your flexibility to add a clause stating that,
yeah, which will all be different than what he's being paid now. Yeah,
But do you make reference to it being adjusted in 2025? Based on this review or?
It's written pretty flexibly.
It is.
Yeah, so I mean, that would fall into that second sentence or the
Mhm.
third sentence. But it
We
just
don't actually
doesn't-
have the pay written a line that says how much. you
No.
pay.
Right.
Not a-
No, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
that we should.
I mean, we could just take out the phrase, the amount determined by the board, and we could just put in the dollar right there.
Yeah, I'll do that, or I'll have to. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
it's just-
it isn't. I'm just saying, like, if it isn't annual compensation because it's. I'm hearing that there's an adjustment. In January of 2025. That would have,
I think that's when the pay raises all come through, right? January.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting you do it this year, but I think in the future you probably need to.
Because again, I think we need a lawyer to weigh in or employers counsel. I don't think,
I'm not an employee of the district. I'm an employee of the Board of Trustees and I'm not governed by the same principles as the employees of the district. So for now it's fine and I could care less, right? So as long as I'm here, you can just leave it attached to the salary that the staffing does.
that was,
But in the future, I think you probably want to have it
Yeah.
tied to a thing where you negotiate the salary with the director, not making it a part of a process that's not within your control. So, and that's something in the future, but I'm not recommending that you do that now, but because I'm not asking for anything. But in the future, you might be.
Another part of the thing is compensation and valuation is, and then we'll add that to the June 2025. Where we will as a board.
I do think for next year's contract, we should consider trying to tie some compensation to the goals.
That's a good discussion point that I think people will want to talk about, but yes. So just to go back, I'm gonna change annual compensation for services under the contract shall be the amount, shall be, and then the amount that David currently makes annually, annualized. Sorry, we can note to myself. So, as amended, is there any other amendments?
no, could I just flipping to the other page? So it's the vacation and sick leave and holidays. So it references the library district personnel policies, but
Again,
you just said made me pause to think.
and I'm absolutely fine with that in the contract. I don't know that everyone is going to be. I mean, at some point or another, you're gonna hire another director.
No, we're not.
That won't be me. And then at that point, I think it's all negotiable. And it's not negotiable within the context of if you had a collective bargaining agreement or if you had anything else. It is a direct contract with the Board of Trustees and you have to make available. So if somebody came in and said like, no, I want vehicle.
Okay,
I want a vehicle.
okay.
I,
So,
Housing allowance.
I
So
think, oh, no, go ahead.
so related to personnel policies or how it is that you structured that, did we refer to vacation, sick leave and holidays, or did we refer to like PTO? Was it packaged together as,
Vacation. Yeah.
it is sick and vacation? So we use those words, those terms? Okay, it's not just a pot of money? Okay.
Oh, no, I was just gonna follow up and say, even if he's not necessarily an employee of the library district, but he's an employee of the board, it's okay to reference the library district personnel policy to like calculate his vacation, sick leave. That's okay for us to do that.
You're
And-
saying, not ask.
I'm just, yeah, I'm
You're
saying,
stating.
yeah, I'm saying, sorry.
The inflection was not.
And the same thing to the reference
I
to
believe
all,
it is perfectly acceptable.
Thank you.
and the insurance coverage and retirement benefits, the same reference to full-time salaried employees of the district. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Kim looked at this, right?
Yeah, and he probably prepared it for it.
More than time.
So, that is the motion, will be a motion for me to sign the contract that discussed as amended, with salary information. I'll make that motion. Oh, you made it,
Yeah.
okay.
No, that's okay. I
Sylvia
second.
made-
I can second.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to restate it.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
all good.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's, uh,
Not a cliffhanger as far as whether David was gonna.
you're right. I mean, there is a point, there is a point that, you know, in 15, 20 years, when David retires, you've got a 6-year-old or something, so he's, when 15, 20 years when he retires, you know, you'll have to hire, some other board will have to hire a new library director.
Yeah.
It's important how we address this, and that's why I do want to take this and put that in there.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
okay,
So it's good. I mean, I think we've made some improvements, right?
yes,
You know, we added like some goals here and we
I think it's great.
got some good feedback on a job description that maybe will go away. And so we'll have, okay.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Security contract, it's gonna be either her or you.
Either way, you have it in your packet. It's an amendment to the contract to add Novo and then some additional hours at Main Library when the Canyon Theater opens for Thursday and Saturday nights. Total cost, additional cost around $85,000.
And that's just for the remainder of the year, right?
So yes.
So up and through December, okay.
So we would expect a increase next year over this year's total anyways.
And, double that.
If all things stay the same and we don't add anything at Gun Barrel. If we add something at Gun Barrel, it'll probably be another $100,000.
Yeah, we're gonna be spending $1 million.
Are we anticipating adding security at Carnegie once we open or no?
I talked about it. I don't know. We'll have to see what the public, I mean, we're waiting for the manager to recommend, make recommendations of.
And if we did, it would just be another amendment, that's presumable.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a question.
I'm just saying, that once we know about opens, and that's, the community group's already reached out. Anxiety, may be in place a month or two from staff up there.
We may, you know, for the time being, we're planning on from July through into September, we would draw one of the 4 cards here. To set the stage, and we'll see what it's like in there. So we'll be there, very present.
But
For the first 3 months.
company, if we wanted to add somebody on, that's not gonna.
Yeah, if we had to add more staff, then we would come back to you with another
Yeah.
amendment. At this point, I don't know that we know what to expect. We know the community is,
Saying we don't.
yeah, the community wants us to be prepared, and I think we will be.
There's gonna be about 26 libraries that we
I'm
count.
not.
Yeah.
I'm just raising.
No, I know that. I know, yeah.
We should be prepared. That we get a demand, and that might be an easy way to
Right.
tamp down a complaint. And then take it away later.
I'm very hopeful that, you know, that one of the issues we had, why we had, this is my summary, you can, correct, is that, you know, we didn't have a ton of staff here when we had some of the issues, and so now we're gonna have a lot more staff here. 26 people in that tiny space and, you know, walking around is quite a few, so I'm hoping that it's gonna be more of a deterrent, you know, of bad behavior. And the space is just laid out so much differently. There's no, so, but anyway.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I always, me personally, like, this is money we're not spending on books and programs. So like, but it is necessary, right? So I'm not complaining, but I get it. So do we have to approve this or?
We are asking you.
It's above the.
Yeah, about the special.
I move approval of this contract before us with Pontum.
And Tom seconds. Any comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And I know the question has come up multiple times, and we will try our best to get a incident report done for you before the end of the year, but it is right now, it's a very labor intensive thing that Jim has to go through every single report. and categorize them, and we just have not had the capacity to do that right now.
So hopefully before the end of the year. But again, I know it's not, none of us like spending this amount of money, to your point, on security, but at present, it is a necessity to ensure and make people feel safe. And I'm not entirely super jacked about it either, but I have more of a tendency right now I'm ready to go out and ask for another guard if necessary.
Yeah.
And because I can't tell you that I can foresee reducing the number of guards right now. And frankly, when we open the skate park next week, it's gonna be a great big party. If you all come, but it's the day after that I'm concerned of and not the day of the party. And, you know, nobody wants to take a leadership role outside. It was great for Creek Fest. Everybody wanted to clean up everything, but they're all gonna forget about it and go away. And summer is not the high time for us to have incidents because the library is heavily activated. But once fall rolls around again, you know, if somebody's gonna watch the playground, it's gonna be us. And so I just want you to be prepared for my mental state. It's not like I'm interested in building a police state, but I feel responsible for making sure that everyone feels safe in this place.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing when we have the retreat. That we spend time on what it means to manage public space. And I think you do more of that than you do managing a library. In terms of books and content and programs. That's the big challenge everywhere. And so thinking creatively about what are the public spaces that we now own or operate? What can we do better about making sure the public feels good and their issues that make people feel unsafe aren't gonna go away?
I talked about this with my 14-year-old listening. A lot, you know,
Yeah.
and her apprehension about using the spaces, you know, to be honest. All right, it's a great comment. Do you want to break?
Oh, is it me? Mine
That's
is really short, less than 5 minutes. Novo's on track. We'll have another meeting tomorrow, but I believe we're on track to get the ability to start moving in furniture and books at the end of this week. And so next week, plan to be here, like, and Novo, if you want, like, June 4th, we have the books arriving, furniture is arriving, art's gonna be hung, and so beginning June 4th, Monday, or Tuesday, we're gonna be up there cracking kind of things on deck. And yeah, I mean, my hope is that the library will be able to open up before the 29th. I think we're on pace.
Are you taking possession this week?
Occupancy, I don't know. We are going to be able to start moving in furniture on the 31st.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't think anything will happen on Friday, but the next week. We have, I don't know how many pallets of books arriving and additional shelving and followed subsequently by furniture and a lot of stuff. So it's all gonna start coming in that week. But we'll have for on site to document the books coming out of the boxes, but if I find out the exact time, and I probably won't find out until I'll text you if you're in the neighborhood, come by and you hold up your head and see. Make some fun.
Images being delivered at the same time.
Okay. Yeah.
What automated materials handling?
It's all coming at once. There was an alarm over the weekend, false alarm, but it was a problem because we don't have access to the building, and so I couldn't get in, but I could hear it. Turned out, I mean, I call everybody I knew and nobody stopped it, but it did. It was, the elevator triggered fire alarm. No fire, but it was triggering things. So the fire alarm was going off for, about 12 hours. Yes,
Neighbors complain?
the neighbors were not happy. And I don't blame them.
So just-
But they have.
No, it wasn't a fire. I don't know. I don't know what they're, I don't know. I don't know what Francis Pittman's arm was attached to. I don't know that it was attached to any kind of central alarm system.
Any thought about video?
Inside?
Yeah, when you're bringing all this stuff in, I mean, you're.
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about Still photography.
No, she, photographer, she could do videography as well.
I just think that that's a. You know, they short little films to make out of it.
Yeah, I'll bring that up.
The reality of the many decades have you been part of this?
Yeah, you could narrate it and.
Like, this is like all day.
You know what I do have is, because I walk my dogs by there all the time, I always take a photo from the same spot. So I was gonna put all those together as a little, what do you call it, like a
Time lapse?
or something, or
Time.
time box, yeah.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
Stand still and they need to be done.
I say the clock duck.
Okay, well, we're almost done.
And the other thing on my report is I will be out of town, at your next meeting, so I'll be gone from June 8th through the 21st.
Oh, you're not gonna, you're gonna miss the 18th. Okay.
Jennifer, we're on.
Yeah, I won't be here
You're gone.
18th.
Gotta take care of some family business, I guess. I've watched it.
About this contract.
I've watched Godfather too. So, so how about this, if we do the trustee matters, legal report, and then we won't adjourn, we'll go on the tour and then we'll come back and adjourn. We turn the recording.
We didn't do photo.
No photo because Kara's not here.
One of us.
Sam didn't. Sam,
I had to clean.
Sam's dressed up and, okay, any trustee matters?
And I won't be here on the 18th, so we won't be doing that.
You won't be here the 8th. No, we'll probably do it the retreat. And then, we thought about legal counsel update. Kelly?
So you guys should have the status report. There isn't any action items. Kim reached out to a representative from the assessor's office about getting the tax exemption for the gun barrel property. And we haven't heard back yet, but doesn't anticipate there being any issues with that. And then SB 24216, standards for decisions regarding library resources. That was sent to the governor on the 16th, and is awaiting his signature. It could become law without a signature on either the 7th or the 15th of June. It's 30 days either after the legislative session ends or after it's sent to the governor. And I looked at your guys's request for reconsideration policy and then the legislation, and I don't really see it affecting you guys. Yeah.
The big gist is that they can't prosecute librarians. You cannot criminally remove them from a job or criminally prosecute them. And members of the public who want to challenge a book have to be public about it. That's awesome. Honestly. But I don't think we have to change it. We wrote our policies when this was in the wind.
Yeah, so I don't think you guys will have to do anything, should it pass. So.
Okay. So, we'll go and do our little tour now.
Yeah.
It's great to see you. Jennifer, I think you've been online all the, were you here last?
She was here, she's been online once.
Oh, never mind.
One time, I think she was online.
Maybe your hair is longer. I don't know what it is.